welcome back to the Sports Show. Time to talk SANFL now. Sometimes in a footy club, and you've heard this, Baz, you've been around footy clubs a long time, just add this and we have success.
Yeah.
And often you talk about a player. I'm going to talk about management.
Okay.
New footy ops guy in at Centrals, suddenly they're 0.08 out of the 5 from sitting 9th last year. Mark Ross, our special guest, that's who we're talking about. Rossi, how are you?
Thanks for the pump up, Phil.
Well, mate, you've had a fairly good record over the journey, mate, at the footy clubs you've been at. You got Centrals in October, and there was a lot of murmurings that they were a bit all over the shop, and suddenly you, along with Paul Thomas, and I'm sure other people, have been able to get them on this pathway to just sitting nicely outside the top 5 with a game this weekend that's pretty important. What's been the secret?
I think clear heads from everybody over the last couple of years of what they're putting together at the Central Districts Footy Club. When Greg Edwards approached me about the footy manager's role, he was very clear about what they had, what they didn't have, what they needed to do, and how we were going to get there. He's an exceptional CEO. He's good footy background, as we know, as a champion player at the Central Districts. He then went on to be a general manager at Port Adelaide, then at North Adelaide where he had great success, and now he's gone back to Central. So he's done the full journey. He's very level-headed, and he's very articulate about what the club needs. So Chris Grant was there, God bless him, for nearly 40 years, did a wonderful job, premiership era that no one will ever reach again. Yeah. But he was the sole man. He was the CEO and the footy manager, and I think Greg just went in and said, look, I think we need to change this a little bit. And he gave me a call out of the blue, and it sort of went from there. I think the most important thing is what they were trying to achieve and the values they had, they aligned. Yep. So you and I have spoken in the past, Phil, about CEO, president, footy coach, managers. They've got to be on the same page.
4 pillars.
And 100% Central Districts are on the same page.
That's a difficult job, Chris, being the CEO and the footy manager. That is some job. I was unaware of that. I didn't know that happened. Because to me, that is very much 2 separate jobs. That is you be the CEO and I'll be the footy manager type thing. I find that staggering that he did that over that many years. Oh,
look, he's a bit of a guru, really, isn't he? I mean, what he was able to produce. I mean, let's not forget they played in 11 consecutive grand finals from 2000 to 2011 and winning 9 of them. And he was, probably the architect around most of that. I mean, the coaches and the players get all the glory, and as they should. But you need someone at the top that's steadying the ship, and he can certainly did a wonderful job.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he's still around now, helping us out whenever we need it and offering some advice. He's a great man.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So the sticker that's been made up, just add the Gowans and have success, is now just add Mark Ross and have success. So that's the latest sticker out of Central Districts.
Don't talk about the McGowans, all right? I don't want you to talk about the McGowans.
Rip the McGowans?
No, I don't want you to talk about them. No, they were down at Albion first.
Well, you made a mistake letting them go then. So, hey, we'll move on from that. Hey, mate, last weekend, big game against South Adelaide, and they've been one of those teams this year that can be explosive and get past teams, and then they've just had that up and down year. You guys jumped them early, out by 3 goals. Then they came back at you. Second half, you're able to keep them goalless. So it's been a big focus this year on the way the Dogs defend.
If anyone that knows Paul Thomas, that was the way he played his footy. And I think anyone that knows football today, you've got to defend first, and then offensively from there, it's what occurs. And Paul spent the last two seasons, honing in on let's defend first and become a really good defensive unit as a team, not just the back 6 or 7, but the actual entire team. And then he's added that little flavour of what you need to be able to kick goals consistently. But one thing that hasn't changed this year is the back 7, as we will call it, has pretty much not changed. We've added a little bit of flavour here and there with a couple of different players going back there, but it's predominantly been the same group, and they've gelled really, really well. Yeah. South had some opportunities to score goals. They did, but I thought defensively it's probably the best I've seen of a team as a whole, but particularly that back 6 or 7 for many, many weeks. They were outstanding.
I like most of the coaches when they're asked at this stage of the year about finals. Most of the coaches will go, "Well, hang on a minute. There's a way to go, and we're in the mix, but
one game at a time.
One game at a time." All that. He went straight out and said, "Why not?" Now I like that message. That's a great message to the club and to the players. Why not? I mean, we're here, we're there, and that's exactly what he said. And when I heard it, I thought, "Good on you, mate. That's a good answer," because really, the way you're playing, you probably deserve to be in there. You probably deserve to be in that 5. You're level with North at the minute, but you're playing some pretty good footy at the moment.
Yeah, we probably learned. Paul's mentioned this. So going back to what you were saying there, I mean, Paul from day one has said our objective this year at the on the back of recruiting quite heavily. That their mantra was to play finals. He hasn't stepped away with that, certainly from within, and he's spoken to the players about that, and that is our mantra. Now, you need a little bit of luck in footy to get that, and then you need a bit of talent, and you need a lot of things to go right, and things will go wrong along the way. But throughout the journey, he's maintained the same, and then a couple of games just previous to our last two, we played the Crows and Glenelg, who were both flying, when we played them, and gave us a bit of a lesson. And I reckon the lessons that were learned out of that has really helped over the last 2 weeks. So West Adelaide, who everyone knows have improved greatly, and we really admire him. I mean, I'm a big fan of Adam Hartlett. He's done a really, really good job, and he's a good bloke. We were challenged by them when we were pretty similar to the weekend against South Adelaide, going okay, and then in the last quarter when the result could have easily gone the other way, the boys dug deep and went on to win the game. And then again on the weekend, and ball straight out says, well, the ball's now in our court. If we keep winning, we'll play finals. It's as simple as that.
Right.
What do you reckon the biggest lesson you learnt from those two games, Crows and Glenelg? What do you think took into the next two games that helped you?
I think it's we talked about defence just a minute ago. Offensively, they're outstanding once they got the ball in their hand. The movement, so continually moving the ball, getting it going forward, and that's what they were exceptional at when they had their opportunity. So twice this year, when we've played Glenelg in particular, they've once you give them a lot of ball, they're extremely damaging. The Crows we beat first time round. This time round they spanked us, and it was all their ball movement.
I want to ask about Paul Thomas's brother Bo. Played his first game of the weekend, kicked a goal, was great. All the boys got around him. How hard it is for Bo to be playing for his brother, who's the head coach, and then the acceptance by the players around him, because you know what it's like. It goes one way or the other. He either gets it too easy or he gets it too hard. And then if he makes the team because he's a late call-up, someone misses out and they go, oh, you got picked because he's the coach's brother. Bo kind of looked like, and the way the team embraced him, it looked like they all felt he deserved being there.
Well, the answer to that one, Phil, is that's how their team feel about all their teammates. And we can, if we have time, we can go back to that. But Bo's was, look, his form's been good. I wouldn't say it's been exceptional. It's been good. He's played his role within the reserves and done what we've needed him to do, whether that's been forward or back. We hate the old saying utility, but that's technically what he's been able to do. He rucks at some stages. He plays as a key forward. He plays as a key back, and he can play on a smaller type person as well.
Important players.
It's they're very important. So we had a particular role for Marcus Perreault set for the weekend, and he was going to actually look after Sam Skinner, who is a defender for South Adelaide. Dominates the air. We know Bo's exceptional there, and he's hard to match up on. So when Marcus went out with just a slight hammy, we thought, well, there's the perfect replacement. So he's earned that spot because he could play that role.
Yeah. They're important players, though. You're a utility player, you're up and down the ground, do whatever you like.
All right, so you've said it's okay for Bo. Now for you, mate, you've got to step back to Norwood this weekend, where you've spent an enormous part of your career, and it's a pivotal game for you guys into the five. It's also important for them to try and move off the bottom of the ladder. Does it feel any different to go back to Norwood, to say go into Glenelg?
Look, we played Norwood earlier in the year, and it was actually good to really see everybody. You know, you make a lot of friends, and as you know, in your journey. I mean, I was there for 14 years, so it's not like...
But it's easier when they're coming to you, mate. You're going back there.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it too much. I honestly haven't at this stage. I mean, other than the fact that we need a win. So you do think about that, and we know going to Norwood at any time, no matter whether they're bottom or top, it's difficult.
At the parade.
So, especially at the parade. Central's record there has been okay without being anything great, but they've always been able to push Norwood there. So we go in with a little bit of confidence. Phil, and answer your question though, as much as I haven't thought about it until you've asked about it, probably want to win a little bit more.
Yeah, you want to win a little bit more.
But in the end of the day, you can't control those types of things as an administrator. We're just there to make sure we're supporting the players and they can do their best job on the day.
Good point, mate.
I often see people sit outside and they go, oh, I'd like Rossi's job. That looks like a nice job. I turn up on Saturday and I watch the footy and he makes a couple of phone calls and he sits in selection. I reckon this is a go-to job. How many hours do you reckon roughly a week you put in during the season? If I said 80 hours, would I be fair?
Well, you're always I mean, I don't break it down by hours. I break it down that in football season is a 7-day-a-week job because you don't know when the phone's going to ring. You've got things that can happen over the weekend with someone. God forbid, something can happen to one of your players. You've got to deal with that. Something can happen to one of the staff or the coaches. There's illnesses. There's injuries. There's sick. There's all sorts of things that can actually go wrong. Someone might do something a little bit silly. These things happen in a football club. So, as my wife would say, the phone's on 24/7, and when it rings, he has to answer it. So, I wouldn't say it's 80 hours, but there's certainly a 6 and 7 day week in season.
You just don't want it to ring at midnight on a Saturday night. That's the phone call you don't want.
I ignore those ones.
I reckon it's midnight on the Friday. Someone rings up and says, I'm sick and I can't play.
Yeah, well, the coach tends to get those ones, so I'm a bit lucky.
Your relationship with Paul, they take a while to develop. Things grow pretty quickly. Looks like you two have got a pretty good marriage.
Excellent relationship. Yeah, excellent relationship with everyone in that football club. I think the greatest thing I've heard is just in the last 24 hours is one of our new recruits said it took until March when we first started playing trial games before he knew who was a senior player and who was coming through the ranks. That's how close everybody is.
Wow. Yeah. Excellent.
All right, mate. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, Ross. You're doing a ripping job down there. Mate. Centrals are going to be on the cusp and dangerous if they get there. Big weekend for them and the Redlegs at the parade this weekend. Stay with us. Still plenty to come.